Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we are talking about the third of our new detachments, Companions of Vehemence. This is the Chaplain Judiciar detachment. So Bob and I think this is probably the best one of the three. Really excited to talk about this one. I think there's some really good stuff in this detachment, and I'm really looking forward to putting this on the table. I'm still brewing my list for this one, but I like all the possibilities that this detachment brings. Let's get started with the detachment rule, which is righteous fervor. And your army, you can re-roll advance and charge rolls made for Adeptus Astartes units from your army. So everybody can re-roll advance rolls and charge rolls. Now, it's not super flashy, and it's not uh, kill harder or whatever. But do not underestimate the power of free re-rolls for advances and charges. Um, I've typically run Crusaders in my lists. I've run a lot of 10 mans, a few 20 mans here and there when they were popular. Um, when they had the advance and charge rerolls, and it comes in handy a lot more than you'd think. And more than once I've rolled a 1 into a 6. So, don't underestimate how powerful this can be. It's just a good, solid buff, in my opinion.
Yeah, this if it was individual pick one unit, that this would not be obviously good, but across your whole army, this is a huge way of saving CP across the
Yeah.
board. Because not only is it your charge rolls, but it's also your advance rolls. So that can be a make or break to get to an objective. That can be the matter of points or denying points to your opponent. Plus, if you really want to use like CP on other things, you don't have to worry about saving it for any of this other stuff. So that's something that you always have available. Just doing full rerolls across the board is just very, very good in my opinion. Um, some of the talking heads out there on different channels are a little bit mid on it. I think this is really powerful. Understated how good it is going to be across the edge of the board. Doing something that we want to do anyway is getting into combat.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, to your point, you mentioned like getting to an objective or something like that. Sometimes you'll be like, even let's say you don't have this, you'll be like, oh, well, I'm going to advance to try to do this thing. And you won't get the roll you need. It's like a, low roll or not quite enough. And you're like, well, I needed a 4 and I rolled a 2. Um, you know, how game breaking is it for me to not get this thing? Do I really want to spend CP on it at this moment? Now you don't have to. Just roll that 2 and see if you can get that 4. And it's because it's free. So if you're not achieving the thing you want, re-roll it. And it's really good for that. It also obviously synergizes well with our Execrator, who is a chaplain, who can advance and charge. So you know, makes it easier. I think it also synergizes with the Emperor's Champion, who has +2 to charge, and you get a reroll. Dropping him out of Deep Strike, in a pod or something, not not maybe necessarily the greatest idea, but it's certainly a lot better than any other unit coming out of Deep Strike trying to charge something with a 9-inch charge. So, um, several use cases for this, and free rerolls are free rerolls. So, always good. So, let's get into the enhancements here. First up is Incindiary Animus. This is a chaplain or judiciar model only. Improve the armor penetration characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit by 1. So the entire unit gets +1 AP. As you've probably seen in my Crusader squad video, adding AP is one of the strongest buffs that you can get, and you get it on the whole unit. So that also makes, if you're taking it on an Execrator, it makes his slightly subpar AP1 on his Krasius AP2, which is significantly better for him, and his lethal Mastercraft Power Sword to be AP3. So getting an extra AP going into especially Knights, you're just going to murder them because they don't have an invul in combat usually. So yeah, so I really like this. I think it's definitely definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, this is especially important on anything with no AP or AP1 to get it to the -2 so that you're hitting the invuls for that 5+ invul for something if they have it. Likewise, Terminators, so they're going to bring up to that 4+. So very, very, very powerful um, buff to give to your units. Um, Obviously, Alex mentioned some of them, so differing synergies with that. But obviously, the more you can give this to a larger unit, the better. You're not going to want to put this on like a little mini 5-man unit. It's not going to really impact it as much. So things like the Crusader squads or maybe assault intercessors, jump intercessors at 10-man would be beneficial to this. So even maybe Vanguard vets, something like that, would really benefit from having that additional AP where you can negate some of that extra armor. It's really powerful, a huge damage buff.
Yeah, we'll talk about some more of the synergies a bit later on, but yeah, there is a lot of different units that this is great on. So I really like this. It is pricey at 25 points, but the buff that you get, it's over 30% damage increase on Crusader squads. I'm still working up the math for the Sword Brethren Math Hammer video, so stay tuned for that. But a significant increase in damage output. So especially if you have AP1, going to AP2 is a big buff. So, all right. Next up we have Oathbound Exemplar. This is any Adeptus Astartes infantry model. Add 1 to the advance rolls for the Bearers unit. If the mission pack you're playing features actions, the Bearers unit is eligible to start to perform an action in a turn in which it advanced. This one is like +1 advance. Sounds good. You got rerolls, right? You know, you can action in advance, but it's very meh to me, especially in comparison to the other 3 enhancements. This is never going to see the table, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. It's not bad. It's not something
It's
like,
not awful,
oh, it's not awful. It's not
but it's
not taken because it's not
it's
like,
not nearly as good as the other 3. So
yeah.
since
I
you can
mean,
only have 3,
there is some niche times where this might come into play, but I mean, it might be like once or twice a tournament. But
yeah,
again,
it's not
like
worth
Alex
15
said,
points.
it's not going to be reliable. The other ones are going to be something that are going to impact all of your games, where this one's might be one a game, if that, every other game.
Yeah.
So it just keep it at home.
Leave that one on the shelf. All right, so next up is Merciless Denunciation. This is also Chaplain or GDCR model only. Each time the bearer's unit makes a melee attack, you can reroll the hit roll. So just full rerolls to hit in melee for the unit. Very, very good. The other biggest buff that you can give a unit in my, as you see in my Crusader Squad Math Hammer video, is rerolls to hit. Especially when we have sustained chainswords and lethal power weapons. Rerolls to hit are huge, especially if you're looking to, for like sword bros, fish for 6s or 5s. So really, really good option for our units. Rerolls to hit, always going to be valuable. This one is also 25 points. So you're going to pay for it, but worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess also locked to the chaplain or judiciar. But you remember how we talked about how all of those oath things are not really going to be a problem? This is just another way to access those rerolls to hit, just like the Castellans, the other data sheets out there that have rerolls. Oath is not missed. So
Who
this is
needs
just
oath?
one more when you have the full reroll for that unit. Obviously, you're not going to put it on a small unit. This is something that is kind of going to be kind of a theme, I think, for this detachment. Is you're not going to want to put these enhancements on something teeny tiny because you're not going to make the use of it. So, yeah, it's a very good. This is number 2 that you're going to be
Yep.
taking every single list.
Yep. Exactly. And then last but not least, Zealous Vanguard, Adeptus Astartes model only. Models in the bearer's unit have the Scouts 6 inches ability. So now, as you recall, our Crusader squads used to have Scouts 6. They lost that ability. But now we can get it back. More importantly, it gives it to the whole squad, which means you can put a squad into a dedicated transport, aka an impulsor, and give it to the dedicated transport. Now, of course, we can do this already with incursors or anything that can go in there. Reavers have scouts as well, but why spend those points on a unit that is just kind of meh when you can slap it on Sword Brethren or Blade Guard and scout that sucker up the table? So, really good enhancement. This is why we said Oathbound Exemplar is never going to see the table, because all 3 of these are really good.
Yeah, giving scout to something is very, very powerful. Obviously, for the many different times we've talked about it, it allows your unit to either be aggressive or defensive, depending on if you have first or second turn. So you can deploy him aggressively. If you don't get the first turn, then you can hide it back behind cover if you need to, or you can go even further forward if you have that first turn. So it's one of those things that you can do some things. It gives you adaptability on the board without having to redeploy or having a stratagem to allow you to do that or whatnot. But it is very powerful to get that 6 inches, and it synergizes very well with the differing things that you're trying to do with the detachment, which is advancing and charging anyway. You can slingshot a unit way across the board with this in combination to those detachment rule and potentially with the Execrator if you're on foot. So
Yeah, the other nice thing about it too is that it allows you to be super aggressive with a vehicle and put it somewhere where if you get first turn, you're going to have a great path to get where you want to go. Or if you don't get first turn, then you can just tuck it in behind a ruin somewhere to protect that impulsor full of whatever it is that you got in there. So
yeah, just
so yeah.
keep in mind that the impulsor is going to be the only one that you're going to be able to use it on.
Correct. Yeah, it is dedicated transports only. Get that. So, sadly, no scouting a Land Raider. All right. So, that's it for the enhancements. You can see already why Bob and I like this detachment, because it has some really good stuff in it. So, first up, a blast from Righteous Crusaders, although it's very, very different than it used to be. It is Devout Push. And this happens now in the fight phase. One Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. Till the end of the phase, each time you make a pile in or consolidate, you can move 6 inches instead of 3 inches. So 6-inch pile in and consolidate is huge. Movement tricks in the fight phase, where it gets really nitty gritty as far as your ability to manipulate movement in that phase. Really important for the game, and this is really powerful. It does have a restriction that it cannot also be targeted with the following strat, which we'll get to in just a second. Hearts Hardened to Duty. unless it has a chaplain or judiciar keyword. So thoughts on this strat, Bob?
Very, very powerful. It's something that doesn't get talked a lot. It's kind of one of those like people kind of skip over, like, is it really? Now the consolidation move is not going to be as used, but the power pile in definitely. This allows you to manipulate where you're charging and how you get into combat with your units. Especially going to be important for things like the Crusader squad, the large one, that you may not always be able to get all of your dudes into combat right away. This will help that. So those larger units that you've always been like, oh, well, how am I going to get them? Especially the large base ones, Terminators, Sword Brethren, if you're taking a 10 man, or some of those units where you're always conscious of like, okay, I have a large base. Am I going to be able to get all of these guys in? And well, you have a way to get around that, and it's a very powerful thing for one CP.
And it's not a weird, bizarre, janky one like Wrathful Procession where it's like, oh, your engagement range is 3 inches instead of whatever. Like, because this has other uses, right? If you
Yep.
can't reach an enemy unit, you can go, like with your Consolidate move, you can go towards an objective instead. 6 inches is a lot further than 3. You'll be able to more easily get there. You'll be more easily able to tag something else, which sword bros are going to love because they're going to go in and they're going to murder whatever they touch still, depending on what characters you have attached to them. And now they can move 6 inches, makes it really hard for your opponent to screen you out of getting into combat with something else. So they can penetrate their enemy lines really deeply, making it that much more difficult for your opponent. So really great stratagem. All right,
Yep.
next up, Hearts Hardened to Duty. This is the fight phase just before an Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army consolidates. The target is that unit. The effect: until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a consolidation move, it does not need to end that move closer to the closest enemy model or the closest enemy unit if Suffer Not the Unclean to Vow is active for it. Well, you're never going to run Suffer Not, most likely. Like, the odds of that happening right now are extremely slim to none because +1 to wound is significantly better against almost every faction, and the second best one is going to be Uphold the Honor, most likely. We will do a video on vows specifically, talking about what armies, if any, you're not going to run the +1 against. But the now the reason why they have that restriction on Devout push and this one, some people have gotten confused with this because they don't understand why this strat can be powerful, and especially when you have 6 inch pile in and consolidate. So normally in combat, you have to go towards the closest enemy model. So let's say your model is 1 inch away, is engagement range, 1 inch away from the nearest enemy model, right? Now, under normal circumstances, pile in and consolidate. Well, in this case, this strat applies to consolidation, right? So you're going to go to consolidate. He has to, if he moves, go towards that model that he's 1 inch away from. But maybe it's more advantageous to go to another model in that squad who's on the objective that you want to crowd your guys onto. That's what this strat allows you to do, is not end nearer the closest enemy model, simply the unit. So as long as you end closer to the unit, so you're 1 inch, maybe you end in base or ½ inch away, then you are allowed to do that using the strat. That can be incredibly powerful. Again, fight phase movement manipulation is really huge because piling and consolidator is very restrictive. So you have to be very careful when you're piling and consolidating, especially if you're in a tournament where it matters a lot. And if you can master this, then you can really swing the game in your favor. Now, If for some reason you do have Suffer Not, the Unclean to Live active, you can just literally go in any direction you want, which is silly good. But unfortunately, we're probably never going to run that Val. So you're not going to get much use out of that portion of it. What are your thoughts, Bob?
Yeah, I think this one's not going to be as used as nearly as
No.
often. This might be a one time per game, but that one time per game where you can actually utilize this to manipulate where you're going to get some points, or maybe that you're going to uh, go to another side of the unit that your opponent wants to. Maybe you're going to do like an epic challenge or something to that effect, kill out the the captain or hero or whatever it is, the character that they have, or maybe you want to eliminate one side of that unit so that they can't strike back, or whatever it may be. There's a bunch of different things that you can do with this, uh, where if you kill things off and they're not in base contact already, and there's just a ton of different things. You might use it once a game,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's still very powerful.
mainly for positioning,
Yes.
to get either out of line of sight or get onto an objective or something like that. That's where this is going to be, um, where this is going to be more important, right? So, um,
But movement wins
yeah.
games, and
The
this
other
is one
thing
of
is
those
if
things
there's
that allows you to
multiple
do it.
enemies either nearby or in engagement range, then multiple enemy units, then this can also affect which direction you can go, which can be important too. So um, it's decent. It's got some. When it comes up, it will be a huge play for you. But is it going to come up often? Like Bob said, no, probably not. But it's nice to have in your pocket if you need to. And if it's a chaplain unit, you can combo it with Devout Push for a really big consolidation move to somewhere your opponent doesn't want you to go. All right. Next up is for the Emperor's Honor. Fight phase. One Adeptus Astartes unit that has not been selected to fight. Gives them precision in melee.
Throw it in the trash can.
Throw it in the
Move
trash
on.
can. We're not even going to bother with this one. We talked about this when Wrathful came out. We talked about this in the stream. I don't know why GW thinks precision is a good thing to give to an entire unit. Who cares? I'd rather kill the unit than the character. It's just bad. So you won't be using this. Fortunately, it's one of the few really bad things in this detachment. Next up, we have Pious Emnity. 1 CP, fight phase again. This is a chaplain or justiciar unit that has not been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, melee attacks, reroll a hit roll of 1. If the target is a monster or vehicle, reroll a wound roll of 1 as well. So this is really good, especially if your chaplain or justiciar is leading sword brethren, because they hit on 2s. So now you essentially have full rerolls to hit. So really good, and then getting a reroll of wound into the thing that you want to reroll wounds into, monsters and vehicles that are tough. This is a good, solid buff strat.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's solid. It's not great, but it is solid. It will give a marginal extra attack there. It's going to be most beneficial for things that you're already either 2+, obviously, but any rerolls are going to be beneficial in general. So I think this is going to be something that you're probably going to be using more often than not, especially if you don't have reroll sources across your army.
Which
But
we
I think
should.
it's you should. But this will, be a specific unit or two that you can put onto those. Because Alex did mention that Sword Brethren, if you have a chaplain with them, you probably are not going to do that because as he will do math for, you're likely to have a Marshal Castellan combo, or maybe Helbrick and Castellan with those. But there's other units where it's useful no matter what. Just getting a reroll to hit one is good. And then if you're hitting a vehicle or monster, then getting the extra one is decent as well. So I think this is the one that you're probably going to be using fairly often for combat purposes, because getting rerolls on one even is better than not. So I think it's a decent take for one CP. Not
Yeah,
quite as good as getting an extra AP or something like that in Righteous
correct. Yeah.
Crusaders, but
Well,
I
and
mean it's not bad.
the other thing too is it's to just give you an idea, like for example, Crusaders getting rerolls to one, maybe they're led by a Execrator because you want to advance and charge on them or something.
Mhm.
Um, so maybe you took the AP and enhancement on that Execrator, right? It's still not a terrible increase. Like rerolls of one, you're gonna get between like 16 and 18% increase in your damage output just from the rerolls of one. So it's a decent buff in and of itself, and it's nice to have rerolls on a unit that might otherwise not get them. So,
Yep, exactly.
all right, next up, one of my favorites of this detachment is Heresy Begets Retribution, and it has a great name too. It is only 1 CP. This is your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fall back charge. It's again Chaplain or Justiciar unit that is within 9 inches of that enemy unit and not within an engagement range of one or more enemy units. You can make a Retribution move. So basically, you roll d6 and you move a number of inches up to the result, but you must end as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. When doing so, you can be moved within engagement range. So this is a surge move, essentially, similar to Crusader Squad surge move. Don't get any bonuses, just a straight d6. But something that can be very powerful with this is if they try to fall back from your chaplain unit, you can just simply use this to try to re-engage them. And if you position correctly, you can make it difficult for them to get a full 6 inches away from you, which, or however far they can move. You can make it difficult by using something like Devout Push
Yeah,
to
exactly. I was gonna say
to
we
to
might have
wrap their
a
unit, make
stratagem
it
for them.
tougher. Yeah, make it tougher for them to get away, so that you can have an easier time re-engaging them, so you can't be shot. So, situationally, very good strat.
Yeah, this is almost like no fallback. Um, almost. Obviously, you have to roll the d6 to get in there, but this is something that's pretty powerful to be able to use this. You can use this multiple times um, throughout the game in general. You probably are going to use this frequently. So save CP for this. Remind your opponents that you have this. You
Yep.
can use this as a way to play games with their game plan. Obviously, it's going to be one chaplain or judiciary unit, so you may only have maybe two of them in the list, maybe three, possibly. But those units are typically going to be critical units that you want. So that's going to be something that you're going to be a huge deterrent for. Use it for the fallback, like we talked about, or you can just surge forward simply because they're too close.
Yep.
It's very, very powerful.
Something else you can use it for is it says the closest enemy unit is not the enemy unit that moved, normal moved, advanced, or fell back. So maybe that unit got away from you, but there's another unit close enough by that you can just re-engage instead. Yeah, there's multiple ways that you can use this effectively, and like you said, playing mind games with your opponent. Hey, just a reminder, I can do this if you fall back from me. Hey, if you move within, close range of me, I can do this. Right. So obviously, it's chaplain and judiciary units only. So again, playing into the theme of the detachment, so it's a bit restrictive in that regard, but we have good enhancements to give those guys. Running Judiciaries with like Blade Guard, really good as a reactionary unit. Something that your opponent's not going to want to get close to because I'm just going to waltz in and fight first. Yeah, plenty of
Yeah,
use
this is
cases for this.
probably the best stratagem in the detachment.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that you can do with it. And one of the things that is important to note, like some of the other ones that are very similar in other detachments that we have that do kind of the same thing, is because it's your opponent's turn, when you push yourself into engagement range with them, you strike before them unless they have fights first,
Yep.
because they do not have the charge bonus. So,
Yep. Exactly. The other thing too is like maybe they want to move up to charge you. Well, this essentially just d6 to inch charge them back. Sort of will make them stay a bit away from you, maybe. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's definitely my favorite strat of the detachment. And then lastly, we have Dread Crusaders, your opponent's charge phase just after an enemy unit declares a charge. Um, Basically, one of the targets of that charge, one of your units that's a target of that charge, selects the target of the charge, and that enemy unit must make a battle shock test subtracting 1 from the result. Um, I'm not a huge fan of this one. Battle shock is kind of meh to begin with. Um, it could, in theory, affect their stratagem use, including a reroll to charge. So, because it's when they declare it. It's not without its uses, but it's also not very good either.
yeah, this is, I mean, it's not as bad as the precision one. This is, I would say, like, for precision, you're never going to use that for the Emperor's Honor. So we're down to like 5 stratagems. This one makes it like 4.5 because the amount of times that you're probably going to use this is very slim unless you're like overloaded with CP, which you're probably not because you're going to be using Heresy, Begets, Retribution, and Pious Emnity a lot, and probably Devout Push. So I don't think you're going to be a ton of CP out there. And then, I mean, it has cases. Alex kind of touched on them. Um, your opponent's really powerful units can really be shut down with strategic battle shock failure on that. And you do get the extra -1 to their leadership, so that helps. But you can't rely on it.
It's
Yeah,
basically,
it's not
do I
great.
have an
It's
extra
a
CP
half-up
to
strategy.
burn right now? Would this, maybe be helpful? Like maybe your opponent has some really good melee strat that's going to really buff their unit, and not having it might mean the difference in your unit living or dying. Um, then you might consider this, but yeah, it's
This is
just
this is
really not a
when
great strat.
you're really going to use it at the end of the game when your opponent both of you have very little units left and your opponent needs to get on to your objective via charging to score some points or maybe take it from you, and this can prevent them from re-rolling a charge if they fail it, if they
Well,
fail that
and if they're
battle
battle
charge.
shocked, their OC is 0, so they can't take
Yeah,
that point
so
from you. So even if they kill you, they don't get to score the point or own the point. So
yep.
since it is in their charge phase, it will last all the way through your turn. So at least there's that. Um, but it's kind of meh. So in any case, those are the stratagems and enhancements. Since this is the chaplain and judiciary detachment, Bob, do you want to talk about our new bespoke chaplain a bit? Go over his data sheet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So the Execrator, boom. So we got the 6-inch move, 4 toughness, 3+ save, 4 wounds, 5 up save. He's OC1
5 of
like most
leadership.
characters. 5 up leadership,
Yeah.
sorry. 5 up leadership. 1 OC and a 4 up invulnerable save. So A pretty standard run-of-the-mill character as far as that goes. He does have the Absolver bolt pistol. You're probably familiar with that from other Primaris chaplains. And then he's got his Crozius, which is the standard 6 strength, AP1, 2 damage, 5 attacks there. And then he has the option for going for the extra attacks with the Mastercrafted Power Weapon, which we are going to do.
Every time. You're never going to take a Pyre Pistol over this. So he always, something to note, he does not trade his bolt pistol for this. So the only time you trade your bolt pistol is for a Pyre Pistol, and if you have a Pyre Pistol, you can't also have the power weapon. Don't know why you would ever want a Pyre Pistol over extra attacks, lethal hit, mastercrafted power weapon, but I guess you do you if that's what you're going to go with. So, plus dual wielding Chaplain just looks super cool anyway. So yeah, the extra attacks are really nice. It's literally a sword bro attack profile.
Yep, yep, it's pretty powerful. But the thing that really kind of brings it to light there, it can be attached to Crusader squads or Sword Brethren squads, but most likely you're going to be taking Crusader squads with this guys because again, we talked about the fact that the best combos. Alex will give you the math hammer on that here pretty quick, but Marshals and Castellans and Helbrecht are probably the best options for your Sword Brother. But there is a niche. You could take a larger Sword Brethren squad with these guys. But the reason why is going to be because you get advance of charge with this. Remorseless Persecution. While this model is leading a unit, that unit is eligible to declare a charge in the turn in which it advanced. So this is where we get our advance of charges. So we talked about that in several different videos and on the preview. This is a powerful, powerful thing, especially when we get to re-roll our charges and advances. So it's a great way to get that. We also have the condemnatory annihilation. So when each time this model's unit is fought, if one or more enemy units were destroyed as a result of those attacks, each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model must take a battle shock die. That's less powerful, less needed, but I mean,
Yeah,
hey, if you get something battle shocked out of it as an extra bonus, great.
it's a
But
bonus.
it's a
Um,
bonus.
yeah, I really like this guy. The fact that he doesn't have any offensive buffs for the unit, aside from which I guess you could sort of consider advance and charge. But as far as damage output, completely mitigated by the fact that you can give him +1 AP or full rerolls to hit for the squad with an enhancement.
Yep.
So, while I think that he is good with Crusader squads, I, unlike Bob, would not count him out of leading a Sword Bro unit, probably with the rerolls to hit, because that's what they want. So yeah, you'd miss a little damage from the crit 5s on the Castellan, but it'd still be a really deadly unit. I saw Art of War did a battle report where they used it and he had it on Sword Bros. It was pretty effective, so it's something that I think could be worth it, even if Bob doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think there's better combos with them. It's not to say that you can't do it. That's why I'm not saying it's not a good take, but I just think there's better ones, and you could take them with the Crusader squad, which the Blob, especially if you're doing the 20-man units, especially needs that advance and charge, or else it's going to be just kind of like a blah unit. Even with the Blood Surge, because your opponent's really not going to purposefully Blood Surge you with that unit unless they knows they can kill your 20-man unit in one turn, which is very plausible. So, but while Alex did say that it doesn't have any buffs for the unit, it kind of does because it is 8 attacks. That's
It's
something
true.
that most characters don't have. So it
Yeah.
does give you an
Marshall.
extra 3.
Marshall.
Well, yes, it does. The Marshal does, but there is an extra 3 attacks, which most characters are not able to give you
Correct.
with
Which
those.
is good.
So
And they're
it
good attacks.
does give you extra
Yeah.
attacks. So I mean,
So,
it does have some offensive potential because of that.
speaking of other combos, what other combos do you like in this detachment, Bob?
What other combos? So this is going to be one of those ones that is extremely, extremely narrow and very tough to really utilize correctly. So I kind of talked about this in both the Discord and in the comment sections, on Facebook, a bunch of different places, Reddit. I think this one is going to be not the take for the casual player. Before we get into the synergies, the reason why is because movement is not something that the average player really kind of understands and has the ability to really master. And this detachment really requires your knowledge of movement and combat in general to make it most effective. What that means is you need to use the pieces like the Execrator, you need to use the Detachment Rule, you need to use the stratagems to really, really narrow down what is positive. So I'm not going to have a ton of different combos for you in this because it remains to be seen what all the synergies are. This is going to be something that's going to be, you have to play test a lot before you can really get the really fine detailed uh, combos down. There's some basic ones that we'll kind of go over here in a second, but I think this is going to be the top probably 3 to 5% of the players are going to really make this one really powerful. Obviously, you have Gladius as the most well-rounded one that we have access to, possibly Wrathful Procession, but this one, the really good players can probably make this really, really good. Um, the
So
average player is not going to be as
sounds like
successful.
we need to have a video on how to take advantage of movement tricks, especially in the fight phase.
Yes.
So
But what I would,
go ahead.
the biggest combo I think I kind of touched on just talking about the Execrator is that's the most obvious one. You probably want to put the Execrator with the 20-man blob. You could do a couple of different things with it. You could give him the AP. You could give him the rerolls. But what I would probably do with that is actually give him Scout 6 with your Zealous Vanguard. So not only are you going to get advance in charge with it, you're going to get the reroll advance in charge from the detachment, and you're going to get Scout 6. So you have something that's going to be obviously probably deployed on the line. Move 6 up if you have the first turn, or get into cover if you don't, into advantageous. Then you're going to advance, move up your 6 inches plus your advance, which will turn out to be about 4.5 inches after the reroll on average. So you're going to go about 10.5 inches up. And usually you need about 20 inches or so to get a first turn charge on. So you're within a first turn charge. A long one, but you're within a first turn charge, not counting that scout. So if you get the scout, that's even less. That's you're about a 6 inch, 4 to 6 inch charge if they are close enough to that deployment edge. So, or you're just right in the center of the board on objective right away. Bam. Now they have to get you off that objective right away. And then you're blood surging into them, which is not ideal for them.
Yeah.
Or if they get anywhere close to you, you have stratagems that will allow you to get into combat. Oh, wait. Heresy begets Retribution.
Yep.
So you really, with a 20-man block with Execrator, which you can also utilize the Ancient with this if you really want to. So you can get a different stratagem on it. So you can combo the AP with the uh, rerolls, or you can also do the rerolls or the AP and the Scout if you really want to give yourself some extra power, and then you get some fights on death if you need to. There's just a lot of things to like with that unit in this detachment.
Yeah. Definitely, I think great shout there for using the scout on like a really large block of 20-man Crusaders. You know, it's something that your opponent can't ignore. Is it possible it's going to get shot to pieces before it does anything? Yeah, but then that means it's also they didn't shoot the rest of your army, and now you're in position to in the right position to do what you need to and not take any other losses. And it's going to take a lot to bring down a 20 man. So, speaking of the scout, something that I mentioned earlier is using it in a dedicated transport. I think it's a really good option for either sword bros or blade guard to be able to scout up in an impulsor and then get out and do their thing. You can even take like something like blade guard with a judiciar and scout them 6 inches in a impulsor, and then advance that guy, and you can jump out after advancing. Can't charge, but you can jump out after advancing, something you normally can't do. And if you stick them in cover behind a ruin or something like that, to where they're set up the next turn, your opponent's not going to want to charge them because they have fights first because the Judiciar, who could have either, probably you want either the reroll hits on that squad. Well, you can't because you've done the scout. But you're going to have a fights first squad of Blade Guard that have +1 to wound, and nobody wants to go into a 6-man
they do have
squad.
innate reroll ones. So
They do have an innate reroll ones, which is great. So, that's something else you can do with that. You could also utilize it on a fast-moving unit like a jump pack chaplain and either jump pack intercessors or Vanguard vets to get extra movement there. To be honest, though, I like taking one of the damage buff enhancements, particularly the +1 AP, if we're going to take a jump pack chaplain, because now you're making those AP1 chain swords or Vanguard vet weapons, heirloom weapons, they're old rusty weapons. AP2, which is a significant damage boost for them. So I think a jump pack 10-man jump pack unit with a chaplain is definitely a viable option in this detachment as well. What are your thoughts, Bob, on Vanguard vets versus jump pack intercessors?
I personally like the assault intercessors. I can see the argument with the Vanguard vets because
Built-in
they
lethals.
pull lethals.
Yeah.
But I do like the basically, well, they're not guaranteed, but they're almost guaranteed mortals
You're
that
going to get
saves you
something.
from. You're going to get something. Those you don't have to roll the hit, you don't have to roll the wound, and it's against everything. So whether it be a vehicle or a tough unit, you're plowing through all of their defenses automatically
You're
just by making
also
a 4-up save
you're also
or a 4-up
30,
roll.
30 points cheaper than the Van Vets. Yeah, they're
Yep.
more squishy, but they're also cheaper. The Chaplain has mortal wounds on his other ability as well, so he's got a bit of synergy there. And yeah, the +1 to wound from the Chaplain is kind of like you're not really gonna use it that much because you're already getting it from the vow. There are some units that
But
will
it
give
does
you.
allow you to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it does allow you to negate like a -1 to wound, and it lets you wound tough 3 on 2s. So
Yep.
you know, it's got its uses. I like them too, simply for the mortal wounds, um, because uh, without lethals and sustained, like the bomb that we talked about, that they used, the Captain Bomb with 10-man jump pack intercessors that were super deadly in Righteous Crusaders. They're not nearly that deadly anymore. So now it's just a good fast moving unit that is going to get a decent damage with the +1 to wound. An extra AP is really important for them at that point, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a more versatile unit in general. Yeah, the you're going to get the lethals if you charge and get that charge, which this detachment obviously favors. So you're going to be able to utilize that more effectively. And obviously, you have access to the storm shield, so they're more defensive. You have that invul, so they're a little bit tougher. But I go back to the fact that the assault intercessors are cheaper. They also have access to 3 plasma pistols, which is don't sniff at that,
And a power
and
fist.
the power fist, which the other guys don't have. So you also have the ability to punch up, and they're more versatile against a wider variety of units in general, especially if you give them the AP minus or additional -1 to your AP. So that's going to be a big thing for going into vehicles like armature level things, because they can kill an armature on the charge. A full unit of them can. Um, Not even really counting the extra uh, mortals that they contribute, but I mean, you're really gonna plow through that
Yeah.
otherwise. So
For
I
the
think
Van
it's
Vets, I think you're probably better off actually taking the rerolls to hit enhancement for them because it synergizes better. Even though you lose out on the AP, it synergizes better with the lethal hits. So that way you can fish for those ones where they're going to wound on 5s or 6s. Generally, that's going to be good to fish for those with those full rerolls to hit. Um, so yeah.
I think this detachment really favors the couple units that you are going to be utilizing the chaplain with to get those enhancements, those big damage buffs, and you really want to put them on units that have the ability to already have either extra movement or movement shenanigans themselves. So this is going to be like jump pack guys, those big blocks uh, of Crusaders who can blood surge. Plus, you combo with the advance and charge with the Execrator, giving them the scouts. Maybe even looking into something like the Phobos lieutenants, giving them extra movement might with something like the Reavers might be beneficial for something in this detachment, because you're really focusing on the movement phase and the different movement tricks. So this is going to be more of a strategic board manipulation detachment. You're not always going to be about just killing your opponent. There is obviously a couple of enhancements that allow you to do that with those strategic units, but you're going to be playing the secondary game, the primary game, with all of your detachments and your units. So that's really, I think, how you unlock it without really getting too deep into list building. I think you probably are going to be going with a couple of jump back units, whether it be vanguards or maybe one vanguard and an assault intercessor, maybe a 20-man block, and then kind of fill in the places on everything else. But again, I think this unit or this detachment is going to be something for the expert players, unless you get a lot of reps in.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think running Judiciaries is a solid take on a unit like Blade Guard in this, because not only does it enable you to use some of those strats that are Chaplain Judiciary only, especially like Heresy Begets Retribution, but it also gives you fights first, which is super valuable. And while you don't need like a ton of fights first unit, having a couple of fights first unit to just kind of be there and be like, by the way, I have this fights first unit right here, and really sort of prevent your opponent from wanting to charge into them with something, because they know, if you have with the +1 to wound and the buffs that we get, Blade Guard are pretty decent. So even without like, full rerolls to hit or +1 AP or some of the other things that you can get, just a regular juicy or lethal hits from a lieutenant or something, having that vice first is really really good for them. So
Yep.
yeah. So thoughts on, speaking of chaplains, thoughts on the Terminator Chaplain for this detachment. Do you think it's
I,
worth it or too slow?
I mean, you could still use the Terminator block in this unit. I think because of our tricks, we can make them faster in general. I think he's not as good because you can't really do the Tannhauser Bone option. But having 4+ mortals is protection against immortals is decent on that, simply because their Terminator's best way of dealing with Terminators is giving mortals to them. So you do have that way around, but it does become a little bit redundant on his other ability, the +1. So because we're getting that from the Vow,
Yeah.
and Terminators in general are not
Not super
great.
great right now.
At least the standard run of the mill ones. So when we get the new Assault Terminators, maybe they'll get a glow up, but we don't know yet. So it's remains to be seen. Right now, I think the 10-man is a decent take, but I probably would go with something else, utilizing either the Blade Guard veterans or the Crusader squads, that type of thing. Something that's faster.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, you can make these guys faster and using the stratagems if they get close enough to you, but I think there's other ways to utilize the detachment.
Something else to consider too is with uh, theoretically it's solid with Thunderhammers, but um, I kind of like the idea of a Terminator Chaplain with some number of Lightning Claw guys. Doesn't necessarily have to be 10. With the reroll hits, because now they reroll all hits, all wounds, and have +1 to wound with their Lightning Claws with a lot of attacks. So um, the downside is you got no lethals, you don't have sustained, they're damage 1. So some definite downsides there, but it's something, if you're really into Terminators and you really want to run them, it's something you can do. We're
Yep.
talking to you, Crazy Tacos. So just got to
Yeah,
throw that idea out there for you.
I really do like this detachment. I really want to make it work because plays probably closest to how I enjoy playing games in general. When we got the leaks early, those of on the detached or in our Discord knew that we had these early. This is the one that I was most excited about right away. Even after I heard all the rules for Godhammer, and I was like, "Yep, I'm still looking at you, COV." This is the one that I probably will play the most to learn of our detachments. I might spend some time with Wrathful, and we'll get into why here. But this is kind of the one that I'm really kind of most interested in right now.
Yeah, we will do a Wrathful deep dive again to go over that because the stock on that detachment has gone way up since the Codex. And the other thing with this detachment, to your point, is I like the theme of it. Like chaplains have always been something that's been like sort of our thing. Um, some folks in the past have said, "Oh, we're like a whole army of chaplains," kind of. So being incentivized to run chaplains, especially a good chaplain like the Execrator, I'm totally on board with, and being able to supplement the Execrator's existing buffs with a powerful damage buff that he doesn't really have aside from his melee himself is really nice to sort of replace his role with from like a Castellan or something like that. So
Yeah, and
um,
he's cheap enough to absorb that enhancement
yeah,
without cutting into your list.
yeah,
So I think that's a good thing as well. And the final thing I really kind of wanted to kind of mention on that same idea is, unlike our other detachment with the ancients, which uh, we all know how I feel about that. The data sheets are not bad for chaplains. They're
yeah,
actually decent.
yeah.
So it's not a detachment that now we're taxed to take chaplains and they're terrible. No, chaplains actually are somewhat decent.
And so are
Um,
Judiciars.
yeah.
So
So maybe not the standard chaplain on foot. Maybe not the greatest, but
no, he's
you
pretty
know,
much toast with the Execrator.
but
Because
the jump pack one and the
the jump pack
Execrator.
one, the Terminator one, both still solid takes. depending on what you're doing. So I like the jump pack one more than the Terminator one, just because I don't really feel Terminators synergize very well with this detachment. But yeah. So overall, Bob, what is your rating for this detachment?
Okay, so the average player, 5.5. So I think in general, this is not a win more or a win them all. I think the average player is probably going to go 3-3 on a RTT, or maybe
You mean a
1-2
GT?
in a 3 game,
Yeah.
something like that. So I think this is probably like the 45% win rate on it. But if you're an expert player, you understand the movement phase, you understand the assault phase, that's something you can't teach. You can try, but you can't teach it. Only experience can give that to you. This is going to be the closer to the 60% win rate, and this is going to be like an 8.5 for it. So, am I going to say I'm in that top tier? Maybe not. Let's be honest. Everyone's going to need to play test this one and
Yep. Get some
some
reps in,
running into it.
for sure.
But I think this is the one, once it's unlocked, this is the one that's really going to probably be the first one to win a GT, I think.
Of our detachments.
Of
Pretty,
our
I'm
detachments. Yeah,
pretty
of
sure
course we're going to
Gladius
have
is going to win a
Gladius is going to
detachment
win.
first.
Yeah.
Just because that's what everyone going to be taking, you know, because, you know, or at least the top players are going to be taking because they don't believe in our detachments. But that's neither here nor there. So in any case, that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Helps drive the algorithm. We've had great engagement with our last videos. Lots of excitement, lots of chatter on not only the Discord, come join our awesome Discord, but also on the videos themselves. So thank you for that. Don't forget to check out our Patreon as well. Lots of great, cool, exclusive stuff in our Patreon, including you know, some before and after behind the scenes content, as well as our YouTube members also get that. So thank you to our YouTube members as well. And until next time, keep on crusading.